Hi everyone, this video is about the dark and light L sounds in English. The dark L sound is one of the most difficult sounds to make convincingly in American English. The light L sound, on the other hand, is one that's used in Chinese, for example, in words like 流利, 理想, or 理论. So that sounds pretty easy for Chinese speakers. Although we use the exact same letter to spell the sound, the dark L is actually really a very different sound. So first, let's listen to a few examples. All, call, will, apple, school, Adele, Daniel, cold, Voldemort. So did you notice something about all those words except the last two? So the L sound is at the end of the word of most of those sounds, except for the last two. Here's the basic rule. If you see an L at the end of a syllable or a cluster at the end of a syllable, then it's a dark L. Otherwise, it's a light L. If we listen to the first several words again in the list, you'll hear the L comes at the end of the word. All, call, will, apple, school, Adele, Daniel. And then the last two words have L sounds at the end of a syllable, although not at the end of the word. Cold, Voldemort. In case you don't know what that last word is, that's Harry Potter's enemy, his nemesis in the Harry Potter books, 伏地魔 in Chinese. So just listen to a couple more examples and tell me or think about which one of the L sounds I'm using. Smile, laugh. Right, so the first one, the L sound comes at the end of the word, smile. And the second one, the L sound comes at the beginning, laugh. One more pair. Sell, selling. So the first one, sell, has the dark L sound, while the second one, selling, has the light L sound. So this actually happens commonly with verbs that end in L. In their simple, unconjugated versions, they'll have the dark L sound. And in the conjugated versions, they often have light L sounds. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but when I said the word sell, I actually did touch the tip of my tongue to the roof of my mouth. And, well, we'll talk about that a little more later. That's, I guess, in terms of my explanation, a no-no, but you'll see that language is a little bit fluid like that. So here are a couple more examples to help you hear the difference between the sounds. So which sounds do you hear? Donald Trump. Right? So the L in Donald Trump happens at the end of a syllable in a consonant cluster. Donald, old. You have the LD sound. So the sound is dark. Next example. Hillary Clinton. One more time. Hillary Clinton. So what do you hear there? So in both the first and last name that I said, you hear the light L. Hillary Clinton. Okay, now that we've spent some time listening to the sounds, how do you make the sound? How do you make the dark L sound? So linguists say that a dark L sound is a velar approximant with some tongue curving at the front. So velar approximant with tongue curving. There's three parts to this. Let's address them one at a time. So first is velar sounds. What's this velar sound? In Chinese, you have velar sounds, the K, G, and H consonants. So for example, 高考 or 好喝. So the G, K, and H sounds are all velar consonants. That gives you a sense of where velar sounds are made. you raise your tongue to the back of your throat. So one more time, 高考好喝. In English, we have G's, K's, and H's as well, and they're also velar. So, but the dark L is an approximant, so it's not a full consonant, really. You raise your tongue to the back of your throat, but not all the way. So for the G and K in 高考, your tongue actually touches the roof of your mouth. But on the other hand, for 好 or in 喝, 好喝, your tongue doesn't quite touch the roof of your mouth. That H sound is a fricative, and fricatives are more narrow than an approximant, but not as narrow as the velar sounds in G and K. And the air gets turbulent or dirty. Now, finally, an approximant is more open than a fricative, and the air never really gets dirty. So when I think of the sound all, I think the best way to approximate that with Chinese sounds is the word ao, like an 熬夜. And ao, the beginning of that is actually a pretty good velar approximant because you're bringing your tongue to the back. And actually, I think a lot of Chinese people use that sound to approximate the sound in words like all, hall, or ball. Okay, finally, for the last part, tongue curving. So how do all and all differ from each other? So first, all has no O. All has no O at the end, right? So all does have an O. So you end up rounding your lips, and you also close your mouth some to make this sound. All. So instead of making an O sound at the end, you leave your mouth open, but you curve your tongue upward. You bend your tongue up towards the roof of your mouth, as if you were going to make the light L sound, but not quite. You should only get maybe 2/3 or 3/4 of the way there. So that's it. So all, right? And then to say the English word, all. 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 Right? So at the same time as curving my tongue, I'm also raising the back of my tongue close to the back of my throat. All. All. And that's it. So just a few more examples again so you can hear. All, call, ball. Because of the similarity of the sounds ao and all, I think it's the easiest place to start. But a dark L can be preceded by most English vowel sounds. For example, you have the word wall, but then you also have well, will, wool. Or, for another set of examples, there's the name Paul, but there are also the words pool, peel, pole, and pull. So with these, you'll have to try to remember what your mouth and tongue feel like when you made the dark L sound, but don't imitate the beginning of all, right? One last important thing to mention about the light and dark L is that they occur in mutually exclusive locations in syllables. This means that you'll never have a case where the only difference in sound between two words is one uses a light L and one uses a dark L. For example, while we have a word wall, it's not possible in English to replace the dark L sound at the end of the word with a light L sound. So you don't have a word wall. That doesn't exist in English. That's breaking a rule of the English sound system. You will never have this case in standard American English. I can't speak for other versions of English. And one thing I glossed over that I should probably explain is the term syllable. There are very technical definitions of the word. You can look it up on Wikipedia or Baidu. But put simply, it's the basic sound unit we hear in spoken languages. And I referred to the beginning and end of syllables. How do you figure out what the beginning and end is of a syllable in English? It's intuitive, at least to English speakers, but to put it simply, just remember the rule that English doesn't like having vowels starting on their own after a consonant. Let me repeat that. English doesn't like having vowels starting on their own after a consonant. So you start a syllable with a consonant if possible. A few examples. Leader, leader. So we have two sounds there, two syllables, leader. And you notice that I said the D at the beginning of the second syllable, not the end of the first syllable. It's not lead-er, it's leader. Another example, hello. So again, two syllables, hello. And the first syllable ends in a vowel, the second syllable starts with the consonant, hello. And in this case, you hear a light L sound because it comes at the beginning of a syllable. Finally, my family name, my last name, is Oliver. That's three syllables. And you see that the second two syllables, the last two syllables, I should say, Oliver, right? Those both begin with consonants, and the previous syllable ends with a vowel. Oliver. In fact, I believe that anytime you have an L in the middle of a word between vowels, it's going to be a light L sound. If people find any exceptions, please post them in the comment section. I'm eager to know. And just at the end, I'll leave you with a few sentences that perhaps you could practice. Number 1. I rarely make calls on my cell phone. I rarely make calls on my cell phone. Number 2. Pencils used to have real lead. Pencils used to have real lead. Number 3, it's quite long. Lola has been selling her handmade jewelry online for a while now. In July, she sold $1,100 of jewelry. One more time. Lola has been selling her handmade jewelry online for a while now. In July, she sold $1,100 of jewelry. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you found this useful. This is my first video. Please feel free to leave any comments and any suggestions. I know I need a lot of them. Bye.